Greetings, greetings. Welcome everybody to our first and unique sessions that we're going to have for this evening. My name is Ramunda and I'm going to be your host for tonight. And we will have a special guest for tonight, which I'm going to introduce in a little bit. So first, some house rules. Everybody will be muted and the camera will be off. So there is no outside noise or anything. And then if you want to post a question, you can always do that in the chat. And then in between, we will keep track of the chat so we can make sure to see your questions and ask it. So one important thing is that the sessions will be recorded for educational purposes. So let's start. So the purpose for these sessions is that we want to make the mental well-being, we want to make that open for everybody. We want for it not to be a taboo anymore. And we want to make sure that everybody gets information, how they can go about it, what exactly it is, and in different area, how you can go about it. So for example, today we're going to talk the impact of the COVID, how it has been for us. Another time, it can be about starting with your own business. And even though the actual starting of the business looks like it's far away from mental well-being, but the stress, the anxiety, all the different things for the on your social and emotional well-being that comes with it has to do with the mental well-being. So that's the reason that we started it. We're going to do it bi-weekly. Every 2 weeks, we're going to have a different guest with different topics. And you can always chime in. We welcome everybody and everybody can ask questions so we can have a nice and productive sessions. So let's start. I'm going to introduce you to our guest speaker for today, which is Miss Lancer Celestin. And you can tell us a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself.
Okay, hi everyone. Good evening. My name is Lancer Celestin, as Ramunda just said, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me into your homes and into your personal space as we go through this pandemic together. So right now I function as the head of the General Liberal Arts and Education Departments at the University of St. Martin here. I am St. Lucian, but I live and work on St. Martin, and I've been doing that for the past 4 years now. That's basically it about me for now.
Okay, thank you, and welcome. So today our topic is to talk about the pandemic and then in relationship to the mental well-being. So majority of us know what it is, but just a little recap as in the mental well-being, it has to do with your social, your emotional, your physical well-being, how all those aspects in your life are at a particular moment and how you handle and work on them so your life can be positive and full of energy. So for those ones that just came in, welcome. And this is our first session, so welcome to the first one. And then our guest speaker is Miss Lancer Celestin. So Miss Lancer, can you tell us a little bit about how this period of this COVID pandemic has been treating you?
Well, for me, I can look at it in from two perspectives, sorry. I can look at it from the personal side and the professional side. I'll start with the professional because that one was more or less seamless. So because I work at a university, as opposed to, let's say, a secondary or primary school, the transition was very easy for us. And I must say that was the most blessed part of my experience so far. The instructors at USM, they did so well to just, take in the training and everything that they needed to make sure that their courses could go from face-to-face to online. And USM did very well in providing that training and so on. We were able to access all our information from home. So right now I have access to my computers from work, in my home. And so the transition is a lot more seamless that way. Also, I'm in constant contact with the people I work with, that's the students, as well as the instructors by phone, WhatsApp, and so on. So in that way, because there's a lot more independence at a university, it was a lot more seamless than my personal life. Now, if we look at my personal life, I know you just talked about well-being and so on. For me, it was, I was filled with anxiety from the time I heard about this pandemic, this virus. From the time I heard it jumped from the eastern part of the world to the west, I started to get nervous because, you know, anything that spreads that way, especially if it hits America very soon, it will be in the Caribbean. And so I was really concerned about that. Added to that was the fact that I had to break my routine. I had to now take work from work to home. And I'm not a very good person when it comes to separating, when it comes to mixing things together. I like separation. So there was a lot of anxiety in the beginning for me. I must say it was a bit stressful.
Okay. Okay. Yes, that's indeed because people indeed has been experiencing this period as very stressful. Some of them getting anxiety. That is so true for me as well. It has been indeed, like you said, you adjust because you're so accustomed with a particular way of living your life, going about your life, that now that you have to be staying in your house, but you still need to continue working, like in our case. So you have to find a way how to handle with that, how to deal with that, and still keep your sanity and still keep on being a positive in life. So tell us, so for you going from not having to go to your actual work, as in the building, but having to stay at home and do your work, how you have been handling with that one?
Okay, so as I said, it was a really difficult transition for me because usually I work a lot. I work a lot of hours because I hold more than one job. So I am constantly going. And because of that, my home, I keep seeing it as a place where I come to relax. It's my sanctuary. When I'm here, I don't want to bother with things like work and so on. And so now transitioning from this place of relaxation to having my home be a place of work was something I had to get used to. And it was not easy. I had to really think about what I was doing. And I thank you for, as my life coach at Mindful Elevation, at Mindful to elevations. So I thank you for being able to help me ground myself and do activities that make me realize, you know, what I'm doing, where I am in my thoughts, and so on. I also enlisted the help of Amy, the psychologist, the counselor at our school, and she really helped me do that as well. So what I did was I had to carve out a space. Now, I know we say that a lot of the time. We say carve out a space and whatever, a space in your mind emotionally. But for me, I needed a physical space. So I had to rearrange my apartment to make sure that I had a space to do my job. So when I'm there, I feel like I'm in work mode. And so when I come out of that space, now I can be emotionally and physically in relaxation mode again. So that was definitely something that helped me in that time.
Yes, and in between, we getting some comments as well that people saying they loving it, having to stay at home and not having to go and walk in offices. So yes, people have different indeed ideas, different opinions, and they feel different about this COVID period. So how did you, so you were saying that, yes, you were getting assistance and guidance from me, from the Mindful Elevation. You were also getting it from Miss Amy, the counselor at your job, because that is an important thing as well. Because it's not because we be having all these type of emotions, we have to bottle it down and then not acknowledge them and not working on them when it's necessary. Because if you don't work on them, then at one point it will trickle down in the different parts of your life, and then that will have again negative impact and effect on other people as well. So it's like you said, it's very important for you to even if it's for something small or something big in your life. It is, if you can't come
Yeah.
out of it, you don't know how to solve it or how to go about it, it's always to ask somebody for some
Yeah.
guidance and some coaching to help you further with that. So in that light, can you tell us what concrete you did in your house when it comes for your work environment or your work?
Okay, well, I was lucky in that I already had a desk, and so it was easy for me to just look for a space in my living room to separate. I also made sure I put a curtain. I'm serious about separation. I put a curtain between my living space and my workspace, so I didn't even have to see my living space, because from the moment I can see it, it puts me in the mode of relaxation again. So I needed to avoid that completely. So that dedicated space is where I go, I work, and so on. I also made sure that I had some structure. So I'm working from a certain time to a certain time. But I will say that for me, that didn't work too well because of the job that I have right now. Um, Sometimes students might message me at random times, and I don't really mind messaging them back and kind of working off hours, because that works for me and I'm comfortable doing that. So in that way, yeah, I am okay with that, not having too much of a rigid structure. Yeah,
Yes,
because yeah,
cor-
the personality I have doesn't really lend itself to that, but the separation is what I need for sure.
correct, correct. And I just see in the chat group too, several people saying indeed creating your space at home so you have your, you can make the separation like you said as well, that this is your space to
Mhm.
work. When I'm here in that space, that is what I'm going to do. And then after, I'm going back in the rest of the house because that is for my private
That's
enjoyment.
right.
So that is very important indeed to do, to, even though we're working at home, to have that separation. And then it doesn't matter if your house is small, if it's big or anything, but even if you just have like a little table, a little chair, that you know that okay, in that corner, that is my workspace and I'm only going to
Right.
do work there. And then once I get up from there, work stays there, and then I continue with my daily life in the rest of my house indeed. So was that easy for you to do?
Well, no, it wasn't, because I did have some other anxieties as well. For instance, I had an anxiety of a food lack. And so there was a lot of negativity. One thing I think that we need to remember, especially with the people watching, is that although we feel like in this day and age we need to be independent and we need to be holding it down and we need to be strong and so on, we need to recognize when we truly have an issue. And we have to understand that this pandemic is unprecedented, and we are going to have anxieties and we are going to have things that rub us the wrong way and so on. It's a scary time for a lot of us. And for me, I felt like that at first, but then I realized it is important to open up, say something, reach out. And I reached out to you, I reached out to Amy, my friends, my boyfriend. I just spoke out to tell people, okay, this is what I'm going through. I need some help. And of course, I was able to get that. So one of the things I was saying is that I found it anxiety ridden to think about food security in St. Martin because of the fact that we have a high import bill. And I'm from an island where you could go in the backyard and pick food, so you won't starve if push comes to shove. You could eat from the land. And we don't necessarily have that situation in St. Martin. So added to the anxieties of work and then working from home and so on, I also had that anxiety. But again, luckily, I was able to reach out, and I did get some tips, and I was able to turn that negative feeling, that negative emotion, to some positive activity. So
Yeah.
right now I take pleasure in doing gardening on my porch. I mean, I can't plant around the yard, but I can plant in pots on my porch. So that's what I'm doing right now. And it's so encouraging when you plant something and you see the little seedlings growing and you feel the success of, things happening, and you find hope in just that small measure. Added to the fact that you're making your own food, of course, so
Oh
you
yes,
never have to
that
stop. But
correct.
yeah.
Correct. That is indeed something, because I just try to do some gardening too, and by us it is like, depending on where we put it, the seed might grow, or this, or it will not grow at all. And then even sometimes when it grow, it does die again because it got too much sun, it got too much water. So that is something that you have to have a lot of patience for, and then keep on going at it. One dying, that's okay. You try
Yeah.
another one, or you try with the same type of seeds. You try in a different spot to see what is catching or not, because and this pandemic is teaching us a lot of new things like the gardening.
Indeed.
I
Indeed.
didn't think that before I would have been having this green hands. Before, when I used to try it, going it dying, I'm like, no, I'm not going to try again. But yes, no, the
It's
patience is key.
a good lesson in patience.
Yes,
Indeed. Yeah.
yes, indeed, that
Indeed.
is so true. That is so true.
And it's something I needed, because I sometimes can be very impatient, but you know, when you're growing, you have to wait. It's just part of the process, and that really helps. And it's such a calm activity too, right? It's calming. You know, you water, you till the soil a little bit, you know, it's really nice. So
Yes.
that has helped me a lot.
Correct, correct. Let me see. In between, if you have any questions, you can always post it in the chat, and we try to go back and forth to the chat as much as possible to try to answer. So I have someone that said that when particular with kids, it's difficult to do the homeschool and also the work. Yes, we do realize that it's not always easy when you're having to homeschool your children, and then you still need to do work, and sometimes it flows into each other. And like I say to the other ones too, maybe you can make it an activity with your children as well, that you sit around the table, you discuss, okay, let me set up a schedule from what time to what time we go into study. So this is the time period that we go into study. Then
Mhm.
mummies or daddy or parents are going to be there. They're going to help you. Then the next period is we going to either have dinner, supper, whatever. Then after that, this is the time slot, an hour or two, that mommy or daddy have to go do some work on the computer, and then you can go play around, or you can see if you can do some school work. But again, it's easier talking because every situation is different, but you just have to try to see what can work out, and try to involve your kids in it as well, because they does love it, that they can have the feeling that they have some input in what is going to happen during that day. And it's a good communication method as well with your children, to bond and to continue building on your communication. So that is very, very important. um, let's see if there is another question.
I just saw one, I think that's kind of relevant to
Yes.
me and what I do.
Mm-hmm.
The question was, how important is it to get support from the boss or your management in this
Yes.
time? And I will say, actually, it is extremely important. As somebody who manages or who leads two divisions right now, active divisions at the university, I will say that I cannot um, underrepresent the value of checking in. So all the time throughout the process, once a week, every other week or so on, it's important to check on the well-being of the workers, and not necessarily, okay, what's your output? What are you doing? Are you on track with this or that? How are you feeling? Because
Yeah.
again, this situation is not something that we've ever experienced in our lifetime. And so people have different ways of dealing with it, of coping, of processing it. And whether while for me, I can sit at home in an apartment by myself with no children, that is not the situation for a lot of people. Some people have kids, some people have family members who are ill, some people have elderly people that they feel anxious about their safety and their health for. And so you have to we have to make sure that we the well-being, emotional well-being of workers, and not just output. Output is important, yes, but in this time, I think precedence has to go to that emotional and social well-being.
Yes, correct. Because you have bosses that wants to continue on the rigid way, forgetting that indeed, like you said, everybody is a human being. So, and everybody has different reaction on what is going on. So even though, yes, you are a human being as well as the boss, but then because you have that position, you have to make sure that your team members are okay, that their well-being is there, is up to par. You have to be able to check up on them once in a while, making sure that everything is okay. Or if they didn't manage to reach a particular goal that needed to be reached at a particular time, don't be so rigid and don't be so strict with them as before, because you do not know what the situation is in their home environment, where they have to be now for almost 24/7. So that indeed
Correct.
is yes. So, and the checking up, it's not only because you're a boss you need to check up, but everybody can check up on each other, your friends, your family. Now is the time to make sure that you communicate with them. They does be talking about the social distancing, but I don't like to call it social distancing. I like to call it physical distance, because you can hug, you can stand close to the other person, but you still need to pick up a phone and call them. You still need to be able to send a message, to be in contact with them. So you still have to be social, but then through the electronic devices. So that is indeed something that we have to keep in mind. And then not just saying that, oh, because I have been working this particular way, this is how I'm going to continue working, because it doesn't work now anymore. We all need to find
we had
new
to do
ways.
a serious mind shift.
Correct.
Yeah,
that is
but
so.
I like what you were saying about the difference between social and physical distancing, because this time I take so much value from the group chat that I have with my family members, and also being able to connect with my boyfriend who lives on another island. It's really valuable to connect also with my friends, even if it's not on a daily basis, but to know that they're available and they're there, just to see the hello, to get the banter, to do the laughing. So you don't stop that part. It's just that it's not done physically. You're not in the same space.
Correct.
That has been really helpful.
Yes, and for some, like I can be talking very easy, that yes, I will just pick up the phone and I will call my parents, or I call my sister or my brother or my friend, and then I am good to go. But that is also with my personality. I don't have to be sitting next to you the whole time for me to feel that yes, you're my friend, you're my parent, my sister, siblings, whatever. But there are some people that indeed they missing that daily physical contact with somebody else, and then unfortunately now that it's not possible, we need to find ways to be able to cope with that, which is very important as well. And that's why what you said at the beginning, that if there are things that you can't cope with, don't keep it bottled up, leave it manifest inside of you, but try to see if there are other people that going through the same thing, what they did, what can you do, or ask for professional help for them to help you and go further. And so, but then when we go back to the anxiety that you were talking about at the beginning, can you give some concrete tips or examples of what you did and how it is going at this moment?
Okay, one thing I really want to suggest is that for me, my anxiety manifested in insomnia. So for the past few weeks, I have been sleeping very poorly. Late, I would go to bed later and later, and find myself, even when I'm in bed, I don't fall asleep until 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. and so on. And I was starting to really internalize that problem. And I started to think really deeply about it, like, okay, what is wrong? Maybe I'm anxious about something. Do I have some kind of psychological issue that I need cleared up? And indeed, I decided to again reach out to my life coach, you, and asked you, can I get some exercises to deal with this and whatnot? And it was so mind opening for me when you responded, because all the time I'm thinking I need some onion skins peeled back to find the issue. But you gave me 3 simple ideas. You said to me, well, it could be something psychological, yes, but have you considered maybe that you're just not moving around as much, so your body just isn't tired and doesn't need to sleep? Or can it be that because you're on the screen more often, on the computer or on the phone more often now, that it's a lot of that light coming in and that can affect your way of sleeping? So there were 3 possible options, and I only had considered one, the worst case scenario. And so I think that's another reason for reaching out to a life coach or a psychologist for if you're going through a problem, is because you will have inputs that you never really considered before. And what you thought would be a really deep problem probably isn't. And so for me, I realized that, yeah, I was being really sedentary. I mean, I don't go out as much. So I'm at home, I'm not doing much but sitting around on my computer, answering emails, reaching out to students and so on. And so I did need that physical activity. And also the screen time for sure was a lot. I mean, it was throughout the day. And so those 2 things really were the reasons I couldn't sleep. And I started walking a few days ago, and I realized, well, I was able to go to bed earlier, put away the phone about an hour or two before I needed to go to bed, and I was fine.
Yeah,
So that problem was a lot simpler than I thought, just by
yeah,
reaching out and talking.
correct, because we tend to make the challenges that we have bigger than it needs to be. I'm not saying that sometimes people have big problems or big challenges that they need to handle with. Of course, there are some people that have that, but and sometimes we need to be aware and realize that, okay, let me sit and think first. Let me take a step back. How is this situation going for me? How is it impacting me? What I am doing that maybe I can change and do differently? And then sometimes as well, we can find the answers in ourselves as well. So it's not always that it is a big thing that we have to make a big, that it's a big problem or a big challenge, and then we can't see the light. But then yes, like we said before already, contact your people them, even if you start with a friend, a family member.
Yeah,
Listen, I can't see, is, do you have that the same way? What do you do about it? And then if you, the 2 of you, don't have an idea how to come out of it, ask for professional help, because that's why professional helps are here. Because if
that's
your
right.
car, if a part of your car, I'm not tech savvy when it comes to cars, but if a part in your car is broken, you're not going to just bring tape and then try to tape it together and thinking that it's working. You will try to find out
Right.
what it is, but at one point, depending on what it is, you will need a car mechanic to come and fix the problem in your car. So it's the same with human beings. We don't have to leave whatever is going on, put it aside because, oh, if I don't see it, then it's not going on,
Right.
or if I
Yeah.
don't think about it, then nothing is going on. But we have to address it because we all claiming and we all saying that we want a happy, positive life. But it all started with ourselves too, that we have to be able to work on it, put from our side, and then get whatever assistance that we need, because these things are very important in life. Because if one aspect of your human being is not properly, is not positive, you're not happy with it, it trickles down to everything else in life. So
Exactly. I look at it as going to the doctor. You find a symptom and you go to find out whether it's a big thing or a little thing. Because sometimes we think it's big and it's little, or sometimes we think it's little and it's big. So
yes.
I see a life coach and a psychologist as somebody who can help you diagnose little things like that in
Mm-hmm.
your emotional health.
Correct,
But what
correct.
are some things from you as life coach at Mindful Elevations, what are some practical things that people can do right now in order to cope
Mhm.
better with the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yes. So some of the things that you can do is to structure your day. So structure in such a way that you know that from this time to this time what you're going to do, how your day is going to go about. When you wake up, you can either write it down or in your head you go through your day. Okay, these are the meetings that I have, or these are what I have to do, or I have to go assist, help out my children with their homework. So what time do I have to do that? How I'm going to do that? Who I'm going to involve? So try to set up a structure for your daily life and the tasks that you have to do, and try as much as possible to stick to it. I'm going to be honest, it's not something 1, 2, 3, because sometimes
Yeah.
myself too, I have challenges with that. I'm saying that okay, I'm going to do ABC, then after the day I'm like, nah, I don't want to do it anymore. But that is okay. That's human being, because once in a while you do need your day or two that you don't do anything, and then the next day you're
Mhm.
going back to your structure that you wanted for that day and how you wanted it. Another thing can be too to have a gratitude journal. So every day or every evening before you go to sleep, you say either 3 things or 5 things. If you can come up with more, that's always good. Um, how grateful you were for the day that is passing. So even if it's like a cup of coffee, that you had a cup of coffee, you enjoyed it, you just had 5 or 10 minutes to just relax it by yourself, or maybe that your boyfriend cooked a delicious dinner, even though he was so busy with his own work, or he took time and the two of you sat together. So it can be little things, but it can also be a big thing. Like, for example, that you accomplished to be able to start different sessions, or that you were able to finish the report that you had to hand in for the job and you had challenge with finishing it up. So gratitude journal, it does help for a lot of people, because it does put everything in perspective as well, and it makes you see, realize too, that not everything is negative, because
Yeah,
now
yeah,
during
indeed.
this period in the news, majority of the things, they are negative things. But then for ourselves, we need to create those positive things too, and then realize that we do have them, even though we don't really sit and think about them. And then another thing as well that you can do, like you said as well, do some exercises, do some yoga, do
Mhm.
some meditation. You don't have to be doing heavy exercise, but even if it's walking, or if you have animals, go play with the animals, relax the mind a little bit instead of having to think on the COVID the whole time.
Yeah.
Think about how many news you want to be taking in, what type of news about the COVID you would want to be taking in. So those amongst others are some tips that can help you. And then also for you to be able to, I call it, try to create some peace in your own life as well. And then again,
That's
if you have,
important.
yes, and then again, if you have children, you can always involve them in it, because remember, even though they're small, they does hear everything, they does see everything, and they does have their own opinions about different things too.
Mhm.
So sit with them, talk with them, see how they're thinking, what they're thinking about, and then communicate with them. That's
And they're also
important.
experiencing it because the students, the younger ones, they have to now be transitioning to online classes, and it was really sudden. It wasn't that okay, we have a vacation coming up, so it was just we're now in this situation, and it's
Mhm.
going on and on and on, and maybe they haven't really had a chance to speak to somebody about the possibilities of it ending, or when they can go back to what they know as normal, and so on. I think the
Correct.
benefit is that children are highly adaptable, but still it's important to let them know what's happening as it goes on at their level of understanding, to kind of allay their fears, because they feel
Yes.
our anxiety. So
Oh, yes, correct. And
it was
then,
really, I
correct.
like that one.
And when they're younger, they tend to make the things bigger than it actually
That's
is.
true.
So it's like you said, we really need to pay attention to the young ones as well, to make sure that they are okay and they are happy as well. So let me see for some questions. Yes, like Amy is saying, power down all the electronic devices at 9 or 10
Yeah,
and drink some
that
chamomile
helps.
tea. Exactly, correct, correct. Thank you for that. Let's see. Yes. So, and how is it going now? So now that you use some of those tips, how is it going now?
Well, I must say that I don't feel too much like I'm in a transition phase anymore. It's becoming more settled. I feel a little bit more at ease. I know that soon we'll have to be going back to work. So there's starting to become a little bit more anxiety about that. But at least now I have some tools already that I can use to further ground myself so I don't blow that up into a bigger thing than it should be.
Yes,
Besides that, there are guidelines that I know that exist that I trust to protect me from the virus, like the physical distancing and making sure that I am wearing a mask and so on, and sanitizing and all of that. Um, for me, I do work in an office by myself, so it's easy to do that. But I was wondering from the people who are watching who don't have that luxury, who probably have to go into an office or into a workspace rather with lots of other people, how they feel about that, and maybe you can give them some tips on how to allay some of their fears, or at least find peace with the situation, because it is a reality that is going to happen at some point, and some people may feel like they're not ready for it, but there are, of course, some things that they can do to help
correct.
with that
Yes,
transition.
exactly. That is true. Some simple things can be adhered to the rules, as in the cleaning of the hand, the making sure that everything. Sorry, making sure that you're adhering to the hygienes, use your mask, make sure you use your disinfectant often, and then you realizing as well that we all are in this. So it's not something that it's only you are experiencing is, but everybody. And then if you're not feeling comfortable with going back, try to discuss it with your boss, try to discuss it with your department head, and then maybe see if there are possibilities for you to stay longer off the work job. And then maybe also what can be done is, because we just often forget that what I'm thinking, the other one is thinking as well. And then even
Mm-hmm.
when people coming and trying to hug you up and tell them honestly, listen, this is my space because of this. I prefer not to have no hugging. We can do that after. As long as you sit and think for yourself that when I'm going back to the work, this is for me what is important. This is what I want to happen for me to continue being happy, continue being positive, for me not to have too much stress. And then think the day before that, okay, tomorrow I'm going, what I'm going to wear. This is and where I have to go work. Do I have an
To
office by
lessen
myself?
the stress. Yeah.
Correct,
Mhm.
correct, correct. So if you know that having to go and meet a bunch of people will give you stress, then think from before that, okay, I know this is going to happen, so what can I do to minimize it without, of course, offending other people as well? So you look at a situation, you look by yourself what you want. You look at how it is in the situation. What can I do to still be in that situation, because sometimes you have to. And then of course for this time we have to make sure that we keep all the hygiene rules, because that's the most important, and then follow what your government is indicating and telling you what to
Mhm.
do. And the most important thing, you not feel comfortable with something, discuss it, discuss it with your
Yeah.
job. There might be possibilities, and then if you have a suggestion, try to bring it forward. And then there must be one or two other people that might be thinking the same way as you. So don't try to think that because I have to go to the job tomorrow, I'm going to get all kind of anxiety attack. I'm going to get stressed
Right.
out, and then
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. I'm kind of like paralyzing. But no, just try to
So
calm yourself
prepare it. Yeah,
down.
prepare in advance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct. That is very
I like
important.
that
Prepare
idea.
yourself. Yes, correct.
Okay.
Let me see if we have other questions. Well, Bakari is saying that its guilt is very tough to sticking to a schedule. Yes, we all have that
It
once in a
can
while.
be, yes.
Yes, correct,
I
correct.
think the key word these days is flexibility. We just have to be flexible with ourselves, flexible with the people with whom we work, flexible with even our bosses. For those of us who aren't in leadership roles, but we're part of a team, we have to be flexible with our bosses too, because for some of them, they have certain pressures as well, and they're also dealing with the pandemic. So sometimes a demand is made and they may not have realized how they came across, and so
Yes.
it's important to just communicate and be flexible with emotions and responses and so on.
Correct, correct. Yes. So for today, this was our first session. Like we said it from before, we were talking about how it is going during this COVID pandemic period, and then some tips of how we can handle with it, so we can stay positive in life and make sure that our day goes as good and positive as possible. So, as a closing up, do you have anything additional that you would want to say?
Not additionally so much, but I think it's important to remain mindful, like you were saying a while ago, being in control of yourself, knowing what your needs are, and making sure that you cater to that as much as possible as we get input from outside. You need to know for yourself what you can and can't deal with, because that's important to me, and I received help in doing that. Know what's important to you and then act accordingly.
Yes, yes,
That's
that
like
is.
my last tip.
Thank you very much. Yes, so like you said already, it's very important to make sure to see what works for you, what not. And then since we had a topic about the mental well-being today, like we have been mentioning during tonight already, that see what is workable for you, see what makes you happy, see what for you and your family, what works and what doesn't work. Don't think that because you're going through something, there is nobody else that's going through it. You can talk with your family, with your friends. If needs be, you can ask for professional help. And asking for professional help, it doesn't mean that often in our case that people thinking that, oh, you're crazy, so that's why you're going
Yeah.
to ask for a coach, or that's why you're going to ask for a psychologist or a psychiatrist. No, it is more because you want to work on your own and on yourself, so you can be more positive and you can be able to help out other people and continue with your life. So it is very important that we all take care of ourselves, that we all see the little positive things in life, small, big, however it is, and that we continue through life with a positive mindset. So that
Exactly.
is, yes, that is very important. So, Miss Lancer, I would like to tell you thank you for
Thank you
being
for
part.
having me.
You're most welcome. And then thank you for the input you have been giving. And I want to thank everybody that was part of our first session. And from the bottom of our heart, I tell you guys very thank you. And then we're planning to do this bi-weekly. And then every time we will come with a different topic with different guests to bring perspective, different perspective when it comes to mental well-being. So thank you again. And then
Thank
for
you.
you to be posted, keep posted on when the next section is going to be and what the topic. You can keep the Facebook page in check at Mindful Elevation, and Mindful will be with the capital M. So I'll see you guys then in 2 weeks. Miss Lancer, thank you again. Thank you for your
Thanks.
time, and thank you for
Not a
your
problem.
input. And then I wish everybody a good night, a good day, whichever time zone you are in. And thank you once more for participating and being here with us. Bye. Have a good day.
Bye.